Hey, what's good, people? Can you believe it? This is episode 97. That guy's Nolan. The episode starts right now. What's good, brother? Nolan Albrecht. What's up, man?
Up?
Did I say that right?
Yeah, Albrecht.
Cool. Hey, what's up, people? Thank you for joining us. This is episode 97. This is the Option Podcast. We're 3 away from 100. Man, Nolan, I think 100 is probably going to be a big party, man. So
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm marking my calendar.
So before we got on the podcast, we were talking about the importance of Zoom, before COVID, and for everybody who doesn't know who this stranger is, Nolan Albrecht currently is the head coach at Belmont Abbey. He was also a big-time player there. I believe you won AVCA Player of the Year.
I was never garnered that award, but I did have a good career there.
Okay.
Mike Mickelau actually beat me out for Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, cool.
So
okay.
the grass legend, Michael Mickelau.
There it is, dude. It's all about grass legends. That's gonna be a lot of this episode too. So I guess let's start with a dumb question that's gonna piss off all my viewers. Like, that's the first question you're gonna ask. How much has Zoom helped you as a coach, just communicating with your players and this and that?
Oh my goodness. So, recruiting is such a big part of collegiate coaching. It's like somebody said, you can't take donkeys to the Kentucky Derby and expect to win. So we're going after the biggest horses, the best thoroughbreds there are. And if we're not allowed in gyms because there's no tournaments or they don't allow coaches in there, we got to get face-to-face interactions somehow with these guys. And so, just having the ability to chat with the guys face-to-face in their homes, talk with their parents, whether they're in Italy, California, Hawaii, wherever they are, it's been absolutely important. Yeah. Now, I would also say on the administrative side, it means that we are accessible all the time. So we can have admin meetings every day of the week if we want, and that ends up slowing it down a little bit. But as far as for recruiting goes, I mean, it's just, that's been awesome. And we have one of our best recruiting classes ever coming in. So, yeah. How about you? How's it affected you?
This podcast started. Everybody was in studio. I had a 4-camera set. I still do. Sound, because of COVID, my sound engineer, she wanted to get vaccinated and all that stuff. So you'll see split screens the last few episodes, but and having people in studio, especially guys like Jeff Samuels or like Dougie Fresh, they're just hilarious. It's like, when are you guys gonna talk about volleyball? It's like, about that, But it's been very much like you. It's been instrumental because it improved my guest list, because there's a lot of people that can't make the trip or won't make the trip, right? What's his name? Dave McKenzie lives in Malaysia, right? Dave McKenzie, for anyone that's asking, all you need to know about him, he's still holds the record for Division I kills in the match. For Division I's 58. The original record is 61. Greg Romulus from Hunter College, crazy Haitian dude. Wow. Yeah, back in the day with all those. I actually played on that team. That's how I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tina Gardina, right? Dane Blanton's Pair 1 player at USC. She's actually going to the Olympics. She won a bid. And when everyone's partying in Hawaii, AVP Hawaii, she won there's a tournament that's an automatic bid in China. So Dane's Pair 1's going to the Olympics, and she's still going back there. So, but do you understand what I'm saying? It made the podcast more accessible to a wider range of guests. Even now, right? I mean, look no further than where you are. I mean, where are you right now? Tell everybody where you are right now.
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. So Belmont Abbey is located 10 minutes away from the airport in Charlotte, and the airport's now an international airport. Charlotte's going like crazy. Yeah. But, even then, flying out to do the podcast would still not be as accessible as just logging into the Zoom and chatting some good ball and talking entertainment and stuff. So, I can't stress the importance of that enough.
Wait, you're still an active player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look entirely too young to not do it, What's VCN?
So VCN is Volleyball Club Nebraska. That's who I played the VLA with They hosted an event every summer. VCN, in order to grow the men's game, they host a men's match, and they've done it for charity in the past. They've done it to support, a certain person in the hospital or something. And this year they decided to make it like a men's pro match. So we invited out Phoenix Ascension as well as Chicago Icemen. And then they kind of put together a team of kind of guys that are familiar with Nebraska, familiar with Dan Mader, who helps run VCN. And quite frankly, a lot of University of Nebraska, like graduate assistants and volunteer assistants and stuff. So we put together a team, and we were kind of a ragtag bunch of former all-conference players and, current grass and sand players, and battled it out. We lost in 4 to the Icemen, and then we beat the Ascension in 4. So, it was fun. I think I'm still sore from that. That was about a month ago. Yeah, I don't play too much indoor anymore. I play mostly beach and grass. So, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like here's how it happens. All right. You play a little bit of grass, East Coast guys. We play a little grass, and then eventually we wind up on the beach. And then maybe we get out there and we're like, fuck this beach stuff, man. It's I can't move, I can't jump, I can't do all the things that I do well, on the grass or indoor. Why would anyone play this? And by the way, my nose is on fire. I look like Rudolph the Red Nose. I look like Rudolph right now. And then I don't know, the competitive juices in you enable you to keep coming back, and then all of a sudden, when your body adjusts to playing for the beach, it's a different kind of sore, right? Like, I'll give you an example, and you'll definitely agree with this, or if you don't, you stop me and interrupt me at any time. When I played, because my playing days are done, but when I played, and I still play, I take that back. When I played, I would play like beach all day, right? And my friends would ask me, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? You want to go sing karaoke?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna jump in the shower. I'm ready, right?" But if I play a grass tournament or if I play indoor, Jay, what are you up to tonight? I'm like, I'm not doing shit. Man, I'm not doing what? What am I doing? Do you know what I did today? So how much of that is true as an application to you?
Oh, that's 100% true. After Pottstown, I think that tournament ended on Sunday at like 9:00. And I think, again, after a beach tournament, Mark and I are headed to the local bar, and we're going to hang out with everybody after the tournament. But after that tournament, I think we stopped at Wendy's on the way home, and we just sat in the hotel room and just laid down like, yeah. Man, everything hurts. Everything hurts. And
oh my God.
We were so sore after the tournament that we did not leave our hotel until the next day at 2:00. We had like diamond status late checkout. We stayed he went to go get breakfast at 9. I went down there like 8, stayed in the hotel all the way until 2:00 the next day, just because you got those 6 matches on Sunday after playing, old school scoring on Saturday, all those matches as well. Grass and indoor, it's just a different animal. It's definitely grueling. But it's also, there's basically, I think of volleyball as like the performance is up here, like performance is way up here, but then you have these 3 prongs underneath that support the performance. And you have the physicality prong, you have the tactical prong, and then you have the technique prong. And mindset gels those 3 together, and they all mold together to form this performance. And I think the thing about grass and indoor is that the physicality is much, much bigger. It takes up way more space of those 3 prongs of that pyramid or whatever, than the tactic or the technique. You saw, if anybody was watching Pottstown, Belov served like 8 aces in the finals. And how we got to the finals
actually, I'm going to show a little bit.
I was able to serve a whole bunch of aces as well to get there. And that's not really technique.
Jumps in front from Lucas. Lucas goes to Fornaciari. Albrecht up on the option. And guess what? Squeeze it past the block of Belov. And that's a side out.
You're right.
We've been locked up here at 1-3 for a little bit.
Sorry, I was just showing some highlights or whatever.
Yeah.
The advantage of taking my own show.
No, it's all good. That's just straight up physicality. So I think the fun thing about
side-out scoring
and the addictive thing about beach in a way is that I think all 3 of those, the technique or the tactic, the physicality, and the technique are all equal in the performance. And I think in indoor, especially men's indoor, the physicality trumps almost everything. because if you're
really
6'8" and you're hitting over the block, you don't even have to have good hand contact. You can just waffle the ball over the place. But if you're above the block hitting at 12 feet, you're going to score. Well, and that's hard to do on the beach.
Well, there's physicality, there's technique, and you said there's tactical, right? As a former indoor player, I played overseas in Germany as an outside, and then set for a bunch of teams that won nationals. Paul Am, like in the '90s, Balmeso, bunch of crazy Dominicans, supposedly out of North Carolina. They're not. Dude, you're in North Carolina. You never seen anyone from Balmesa. They're in Uptown. They're in Washington Heights, New York. Okay, they just stop. I did not go to nationals with them because I didn't want to pay, but I did. Like the bid, to get in and all that stuff. I did a lot. I've played against and with all of those teams. So for me, I guess the point I was trying to make is a 6'1" blocker. There are plenty of like outside hitters, that hit over the top like a couple of plays. But then, like you said, there has to be a sustainability of that. Like sooner or later, you crack the code. You jump later, you show them the top of the tape, and then you kind of like just take it away. So eventually, even people that jumped higher, you kind of figure that out. So I think out of the three things you mentioned, I guess it's the combination of all three that makes someone be able to hit over the hands every time they go against them. There has to be that discipline, right? There has to. Does that fall under the category of technique?
I think that falls into the category of the mindset that melds all three of those and like helps those all peak up at the performance.
Right.
I think that's what that is. Because you're right. You can jump out of the gym, but if you can't even contact the ball, I mean, we've all played, gym volleyball with the basketball team, and you see them and they're all jumping like crazy, or they're all super fast, super physical. They can't even hit the ball, on their hand because they don't even know the timing. They don't know anything like that. And that's the technique part. Yeah. And I think as long, like TJ DeFalco being someone who's not crazy tall, but he's super explosive, crazy smart. He gets the most out of his physicality every time because his tactics and his techniques help to get his performance way, way up there.
Who were you talking about again?
TJ DeFalco.
Oh, DeFalco, yeah. Long Beach State, too. Yeah. And he's representing the U.S. in the Olympics coming up, too. So, well, I hope he got his overseas experience in first, because man, you try to jump straight out of college. Okay, I got a chip and take a trip there and see what happens. I mean, the guy's love for the sport and the chip on his shoulder are what I think bring him to the dance, but at the same time, on that scene can really work against you if you're not, you know what I'm saying? If you lean percentage wise more heavily on that, because you kind of want it in a bad way, and then when it's not there, you think you're doing something not competitive enough, and sometimes guys try to do the same thing better, which won't work. I mean, if you're not sound technique, you're only going to hit a ball harder into the block, where the ball is just going to hit the ground higher, as you swing. So, but for someone like him, I was scared when I knew. Look, he's he's a West Coast product, and when someone wins, they got the billboards. They're going to put someone like that up, and you want it for them because they want it so badly. But I knew he was on his way to the national team, and I just please say he could conquer this demon. Because someone like me who's been watching indoor pretty much half my life, I've seen players burn out. I've seen players wash out. Like Mike Lambert, right? One of the best players that come out of Stanford, right? He washed out on that team. You grind your body trying to do, you kill yourself trying to do something better than you don't, I actually just put a 1-minute clip up live just to tease people. Okay. So just to see if Kevin Knight was watching. That's my dude, man. Kevin Knight's my dude. But you get what I'm saying about DeFalco? There are certain players I look at on the college scene that want to play pro, and I've been coaching for a long time, and I could be like, that guy is ready for international. That guy, I hope he is, right? We look, we're USA guys, right? We're USA guys. You want to see your people do well. And since we're on the topic of indoor, and I swear to God, I'm gonna get back to grass court in a minute because for everybody that's listening, this dude somehow, some way, the Pottstown Rumble grinded out, big court, side out, basically from Saturday morning to Sunday, what felt like 1 a.m. I mean, West Coast. It was late. It was dark here. Me watching the live version, so it had to be 3-hour difference. But yeah, so I could look at certain players that did not make the team that I thought would be a good fit. Like I thought Tuaniga would be a good fit, but everyone just keeps saying short this, short that. But I'm like, he's only like an inch shorter than the guys that you got. You know, I mean, he plays big and he has a championship mentality, and he did everything right. You know. And like everybody was like, well, they're not going to have 4 setters. And I think Micah Maha was the 3rd setter. Micah Maha's a savage, you know. And like all the arguments they were making, well, Micah Maha could play three different positions. And I'm like, not against Italy. Not against Russia. Play opposite against Brazil. See what happens. No. So DeFalco was one of those guys I was concerned about. You have something to say? Floor is yours.
Well, what I heard, so Bill Ferguson, you know, former coach over at USC, the men's coach over there for a while, and just someone who's just been around volley for a while. He started at CVC. He said to me one time, he said, the Olympic team looks for the best setter in the world, and then or the best setter in the country.
Yep.
And then they look for the best backup setter in the country. They don't look for the second best setter in the country. No. Because the second best setter may not be the best backup, may not be the one that can be the most supportive, may not be the one, you know, to be an elite setter, you have to have this tunnel vision, this type A mindset, this is my team, get on my back, I'm carrying you, like you're all coming with me. And the best backup setter in the country may not, you know, that may not fit to have 2 guys like that on the same team. So it may not be anything to do with Tuaniga, you know, unable to deliver a consistent ball. But if Mike is here and Tuaniga is here, but yet there's in the realm of backup setters, he's may not be the top backup setter, then that's kind of what they're looking for. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And, you know, you don't want the second best setter, you want the best backup setter.
Maybe. I mean, and Shoji is?
I think his maturity is pretty solid, and I think the way he understands his role, and like, I think I'm not the one making those decisions, and I thank the Lord I'm not.
No, come on, we're just talking shit here. Yeah. No, but that's what the podcast is for. But yeah, for me, I think there should be some level of meritocracy that goes through performance, right? You look at all of these guys, and sometimes head-to-head tells a lot. Sometimes, you know, setting more talented hitters says a lot. I remember UCLA playing Long Beach State in the finals at the Pavilion. Tuaniga probably just most likely had the better team, right? The third string outside hitter, Lewis Richard, right? African-American guy. In fact, I think he's the only black guy on the team. That's a deep team, man. That guy's your third. That's guy. You know, the next year he started the first 18 games. They were 18-0. So, but well, I don't know. But that year DeFalco wasn't even the best outside hitter. That freaking Norwegian cat was. Blonde hair, almost a towhead. No, that's. You know, he ain't from the South Bay, so you ain't gonna hear about him, all right? But no, that was the best outside hitter on that team. That dude's a savage. And first time I saw him was FIVB. He was at a qualifier, a World Series of Beach. Yeah, he's playing for Norway, and I'm like, wow, who knew these 2 guys, Mullen Sorum, bringing up the rear would be who come to these tournaments without a tan and win, you know? Your thoughts about about Patch not making the team?
You know, I was able to watch a lot of the VNL. I bought that subscription, and it was after our conference tournament, after our run, and so I was just sitting down, just being a volley geek. And the few of the games I saw him in, I thought that just his performance was a little volatile. He was erring quite a bit. I don't think he was ever able to get to his full physical self, you know, when he's contacting up at 12-4 and like ripping the ball. And I didn't see him funneling the opponent's outside hitters very well or really stopping them as much as even Kyle Ensing was. And then when Matt came in over towards the end of the VNL, Matt was doing that. Matt Anderson was playing really well on the right too. So
Yeah,
I
he's
just
gonna
thought
have to if they want to win.
Ben's serve never really got going, and then on offense, something was up where he wasn't quite clicking. It just wasn't the Ben Patch that I've seen, where his eyes are down and he's just like, I'm just balling out. I saw that in Kyle, and I also saw that in Matt, and so I think that's probably why they made that move.
Yeah, I saw both Bens on the international scene because on the East Coast, because of the immigration population, we find ourselves watching more international ball than domestic anyway. And that includes the beach scene. There are more. Dude, there are more Puerto Ricans in New York than there are San Juan. If you go to the Brazil Day Parade, it's a well represented immigration population, right? Like Balmesa, right? That entire team's from Dominican Republic. Paul Lamb out of South Brooklyn. That team's all Polish, national champs, men's open. In fact, Balmesa did it 2 years in a row, and they lost one set both years. So one set and at nationals for men's open, only one set. That was Frankie Valdez is on that team. It's kind of a Long Beach state, but he's from I think he's from Mocha. Santo Domingo. No, I think he's from Mocha, Dominican Republic. But I got to see both, and for me, I think the tie should have went to Patch, unless people thought Ensing was a clear-cut choice. And if someone thinks Ensing's a clear-cut choice, I kind of get that. But there's something to be said about playing with the team and winning and losing, and traveling with that team and getting all that time in with the team, that you should freaking play with the team. So I couldn't, I disagreed heavily with so many people. There was a big argument on old school volleyball about that, and it was split down the middle. But you just made a very, very good point that made sense to me. Sometimes it's not the best backup; it's the guy who can do, who's got other tools in the toolbox. And Ensing can do a bunch of things. Like we already knew Matt Anderson was going to play opposite. If you want a championship team, if they want a gold medal team, there is no way in hell you're going to put Matt Anderson and Taylor Sander at outside hitter. It's just no championship team has a tandem of outside hitters that are both explosive guys and one guy doesn't have a heightened emphasis on ball control. Look at Riley Salmon. Look at Reed Pretty. 2008. You might be a little young, but maybe not.
No, I know them. Yeah.
Look at Jiba. Look at Dante. Right? Jiba could be the best hitter, but he knows that's not his role. His role is to be the best passer on the court and to be the court leader. And if you need him to blow up someone, he could do that too. So, but you're not going to see Karch and Stavertlik, right? Stavertlik, best passer on the court, voted best passer. Well, probably because they never served Karch because Karch is better. But the role playing, and this is important for you as a young coach, the role playing and the tandem of outside hitters. Almost every championship team, almost every gold medal winning team that I've seen has a combination where one guy, like everyone at that level is elite. All right, so we just say that, but they've always had one guy who's like the best passer, and if you need him to hit, he could hit. Riley Salmon did a great job against Serbia, Montenegro. They don't get to the semifinals without Riley, right? And then David Lee, Russia. Then, of course, Clay Stanley cleaned up.
Right.
Your thoughts on that, Matt Anderson? Is Matt Anderson playing opposite the right move?
I think so. Especially with some of the outsiders they're bringing in that do have that ball control. And then I think, too, like what you're saying, you look at those three opposites. You look at Ben Patch, Ensing, and Anderson. Of those three, as far as physicality goes, as far as just like jump touch, stuff like that, Ben Patch and Matt Anderson are very close to each other as far as height and reach and everything like that. Anderson's got a little more height. Ben Patch has got a bigger jump.
Ben Patch's got better range too.
And he's got better range. I think he can hit from a couple different areas. Ensing just has knack of finding a gap in a block. So let's say we're playing against a team that is just a little bit late and you can zip that ball back. Ensing can take a ball from out in front and I just saw him finding these gaps in the block over and over and over again. And he did that in college. He did that in the VNL. And he's not necessarily going from, ball going from his hand to the floor. He's going ball off hands, out of bounds. He's finding different ways to get kills. Whereas Matt Anderson goes and Ben Patch goes ball to deep cross court over the top. Or ball to straight down the line. And I think the way that Patch gets his kills and the way that Anderson gets his kills are very similar. And so I think, you want to bring in two different types of hitters. If Anderson gets cold or something happens where they're just unable to score and they want to move Matt over to the outside, well, now you got Ensing who's scoring differently than Anderson would score.
Yeah.
And all things considered, if the hitting percentage is similar and if they can both block, go with somebody that's going to bring something a little different.
Yeah.
Give your team some more versatility.
100%.
Don't be so one-dimensional.
Yeah. And that's going to be big. That's going to be heavy on the shoulders of the head coach, on Jon Sparrow. I believe he's coaching again. He's coaching in 2020 for the Olympics or this one. Thought he made a really, really huge mistake against Italy starting Aaron Russell. You had Reed Pretty, who was available on the bench. A little long at the tooth, but still, as far as what he does well. It was, and to my recollection, was 5-1 the last 6 times they played Italy. So sometimes it's like, do you want to put in your hot shot pilot to do the mission just to see if he could do it, or do you put in your Fulberg Colonel, the sure shot, the guy who you know what to expect? And I thought it was, I don't know if he just stayed stubborn on that, but you leave that guy in for all 5 sets like that, and the guy costs you set 1. And cost you set 5. And I've been doing this for a long time, and Russell might take this personally, and maybe he should, because our profession, there's no way, us as volleyball players, only speaking for our sport, there's no way you can't personalize your work because you put so much emotional investment in it. But there were some instances where he looked like he was clinging to hope. Like there's a ball he hit line, it went up. And I think in his heart of hearts he knew it was in, but he just kind of did this and it dropped. And the libero, the worst yet, he blocked the libero from getting it, like the path where the libero could just cover it and, whatever. Game 1, he got ace like 3 out of the 4 times when the game was tied at 23 up, One, actually, he touched and the refs didn't see, and the Italians lost their mind. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I didn't watch that game.
It was the best not yellow card you've ever seen in your life. Like Spartans, like 6 Spartans, all 6 ran to the line judge. All 6 of them ran to the top ref. All 6 ran to the down ref. Yes. Oh my God, Italian style. I thought the whole damn team was gonna get like yellows and reds, and it was the craziest not yellow card. And then I think the refs got together and one of them said, yeah, he touched it. And then the next play, Russell got ace. But not his most shining moment. But I know he was the future of the team, but you don't. There's the future of the team for tournaments, right? There's the future of the team for pool play. You don't do that in the semifinals, Jon Sparrow. You don't do that in the semifinals. And I know people like him, and I love the guy to death, but it doesn't mean we, as players and coaches, would let our love and contempt affect our critical thinking skills. What are you doing, man? Yeah.
I played. I played against Russell in high school. He was in my class.
Okay.
And he was down there in Maryland just running stuff. They'd set him 6 rotations out of 6.
Yeah.
And, he was just putting balls away.
He's a machine, right? He had a good pace.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And he's still doing it. And I know he's done well at Pottstown. I know he's done well internationally. I think
he played
there's
at Pottstown?
Sometimes he has before.
Yeah. Okay.
He has. He made a finals. He didn't play in this one.
All right.
But there's just those times, and I was an outside hitter, where you just get in a little bit of a rut. Mm-hmm. And passing is where all your rhythm comes from as an outside. Mm-hmm. And so let's say you get no balls early, or you get all the balls early, and then you're kind of leaving the setter at the 12-foot line or 13-foot line. The offense can't get going. It just becomes the hardest uphill battle of your life if you cannot get rhythm from your passing. Mm-hmm. Because the right sides, they get set a lot, but they're the most effective hitters. So you can't really get rhythm from your blocking. Middles run a lot of gap balls. So as an outside, you can't really go over and triple. So passing is that rhythmic, skill or trait or quality of an outside hitter. Mm-hmm. And, if he's getting ace 3 or 4 times, then that's going to tank his hitting percentage. That's going to tank.
And even when he's out of system, it sets up the triple against him, right? So, sorry. That was
exactly. You're doing yourself a disservice because you're the one that gets to eat all the junk because it's all coming out to the outside hitter. So I didn't watch that game, but that just sounds like it's a recipe for a little bit of a tough game there.
They put in Reed Pritt eventually for the bronze medal match against Russia. And the USA won that. I think they actually won 3-0. To my memory, I'll say 3 tight. I call them 3 tight because 3-0, right? Not all 3-0s are the same. three games to 0. Not all 3 games to 0s are the same, right? And you're looking at 28-26, right? Maybe 30-28, and then maybe the last one's 20-22 or something. So not all 3-0s are the same. Who do you got? It's so weird. I can't believe I'm jumping this direction. Who do you have coming in that's going to be a fun player, maybe to look at in the near distant future at Belmont Abbey?
So cool. I'll go in. I'll just go 2 positions. So our setter position, we got Jack Walsh coming in from Future in Chicago.
Okay.
They were in the challenge match on the second to last day in 18 Open. He was setting. They took it to 3. Ended up taking a tough loss there in 3. But he was setting a really good high-flying team, which is very similar to the team that we're going to have this year. So it's cool to see him setting those athletes that Future had. And then Zach Kramer from Niagara Frontier, an upstate New York guy, same kind of thing. They were in the challenge match at 18 Open. And so I'm looking at that, and I think there were 6 or 8 challenge matches. So there were 12 or 16 teams. And of all of the setters of all of those teams, both of those setters are coming to play for us, or two of those setters out of the top 16 are coming to play for us. And
nice.
I think that's a pretty cool little stat, or a little, I don't know, just a cool little feather in the cap.
Yeah. Well,
knowing that we're deep in that position.
Cool. Sorry, I lost the signal on the last sentence. Say that last part again.
Yeah. Oh, I just think it's cool to know that we're going to be that deep in that position. In addition to our returning setter, Clayton.
Your conference, of course, when it came out, it was one of the weaker conferences or this or that, but it's weird. Every time I watch you guys host someone, like play a home game against someone, and this is you guys, what school did Angel play for? Dache? I forgot.
Mount Olive.
Right. And Oz Borges did too, I think, a couple of years back.
I think so.
Crazy Cube. So. Something about them Cuban dudes, right? When you guys play people at home, it's like you have different superpowers. It's like, wait, this isn't the team that traveled to the Midwest or West Coast to play us. Who are these guys? Do you ever feel like that when you're playing someone at home, like the vertical jumps are maybe an inch and a half higher, the passes seem a little bit more crisper, and tell me.
Yeah, we walked out onto the court against Penn State, and I think our average height of our starting lineup was bigger than Penn State's this year. And when we do that at home and we see them in our gym where we've practiced and we have our Crusader head on the middle of the floor, there's that sense of like pride and the sense of, no, this is our place where we play. This is our gym. And yeah, you guys are an opponent and you've been around for 5 times as long as our program's been around, but we're out here to ball and you're coming into our place. When we go on the road, and it's starting to change, but when we go on the road, sometimes it gets to the point where it's like, well, we're in a vacuum here. This place is big. The schools in our conferences we don't have arenas like this. And then I think we kind of play really well in that first set. And then sometimes just the whole environment of the thing ends up overwhelming the guys at some point. And we're getting further and further away from that. We're, King went up to St. Francis this year, and I think they took him twice on the road. We've hosted St. Francis and beaten them at home, and played some really competitive games on the road against Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Ball State. But it's getting closer and closer to that, because the better and better we do in those matches, the better athletes we get, because they know that we're reaching that point where we're going to start overtaking and beating a lot of the non-conference teams we play. Yeah,
well, for me, I would say, I don't remember who I had on my podcast, and they were talking about for beach volleyball, why is the Midwest so good, and this and that, and and we could say the same thing about indoor, right? Ohio State's always looked good for a while. They won three chips the last 10 years, right? You got Loyola Chicago twice, who beat Division II Lewis for one of them. You've seen Lewis house USC, who was the MPSF champ a couple of years ago. By the way, one of the only winning seasons USC had. I'm disappointed in them, but that's a whole other story, right? Because that's the hotbed for recruiting. Zero excuses to only have 2 2 winning seasons in 6 years. Sorry, Nygaard.
Yep.
But no, right? Another nice guy. I'm crapping on it's crap on nice guys day for me. What's up, dude? But I told them. I hope some of you is at least a bad guy. So I don't do that on the podcast. But I told them
if they weren't before, they might be now.
Yeah, but I told them, right? I told them the difference when you see a good West Coast college team or a club team, it's the talent, it's the recruits. When you see a good Midwest team or East Coast team, it's the coach. It's the coaching. And the focus on just doing more with less. And every now and then you get this rock star recruit and you mix it with people that you turned into good players and the great players, and boom, ask him what he's won, Johnny. Texas and Baylor for women are number 1 and number 2. NPSF won 5 of the last 10 titles, actually played each other for one of them, Division 2 and Division 1. So how much does... I lost your picture, and it'll come back. How much does, I guess, coaching as a collective whole, from the assistant coach and the head coach all the way up and down, come into play?
Can you hear me?
I could hear you. Your picture's back. Cool.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
As how much does an assistant coach come into play?
No, just the entire coaching staff come into play.
Oh, the coaching.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, the coaching staff is huge. I remember when I was a student athlete, a good long, 6 years ago, just knowing that we were prepped very well for competition, knowing that all the tools were in the right spot, that we were prepped on as far as blocking goes, as far as serving targets, as far as what our offense needs to look like when we play. It really just gives you, I guess, a cushion. So you are allowed to make mistakes and try things. I think with bad coaching staffs, they focus on, I guess, too little of things. And they end up making, decisions that are not holistically good. And they don't end up influencing the game enough. So they influence a very, very small specific part of the game. Like, hey, we need to try harder. Or, hey, we need to, first ball needs to be great. And it's like, well, sometimes the other team serves so well, the first ball can't be great. So let's go to that second layer. And I think the coaching staff's influence, and one of the main things that I try and do, and I think good coaches try and do, is remove the element of fear. Just literally take it out of play. Like, no fear. Playing without embarrassment, playing without an apprehension, playing without looking over your shoulder. Because if you don't unlock, again, it's that whole 3-pronged thing with the mentality leading up to performance. If you don't have your best performance, then it doesn't matter how much talent, physicality, technique, tactic you may have. You got to get your boys up to that top performance. And you don't do that unless you play free. Mm-hmm. And so I think the best coaching staffs know their players. They know the opponent, or at least familiar with what they do. And then they unlock their own team and they give them the security net. And they say, hey, no matter what happens, if you're yourself and you play the best way you can play, then you're going to win. Yeah. Or at least be successful in these areas. Because I can't guarantee you the scoreboard, but you can be successful out of system, or you can be successful, slowing down their right side hitter, stuff like that. So I think, I don't know, it's kind of a vague answer, but coaching, no matter what coast it's on, no matter what level, I think that's probably the biggest thing you can do is just unlock your players and just say, hey man, what number are you wearing? You're number 3? Okay, cool. What's on the front of your jersey? Belmont Abbey? Okay, cool. I need you to be the best number 3 for Belmont Abbey that you can possibly be. And I'll be here cheering you on the whole time. And there's no stress and there's no pressure. And this is your fun time. You do all this work for this performance. Go out there and perform, man. Like, just go take it. It's all you.
Yep. Friday, unlock 17A.
Yeah.
How's that for an Avengers reference? Yeah, I think we stumbled onto how much more important coaching from the neck up at that level is. Right? I mean, at college, how many people are you going to actually teach how to bump or set? And, you might tweak. You got a great coaching staff that might tweak some of the intricacies that might help them. But I think at a certain level, like you said, it's all about conquering demons from the neck up. I'm a big UFC guy, well, MMA guy, because I watch Bellator too. Chael Sonnen once said, they tell you that losing's not an option, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Losing is an option. Losing is the most readily available option all the time. And he says, so what we as coaches, if you have a player that has a hang up that always says, this is my moment, and they fail, and it starts to mess with them a little bit, you let them know two very important things. One, the other team's feeling it too, no matter what. And two, it's natural. It's not an abnormal. It's not an unnatural feeling, because especially in men, right? They don't want to admit this, and they try to get rid of it, and then they fall back onto something that they think helps them get rid of it. And if they're taught properly, or if they've exercised something properly, then it does bail them out. And if they don't, they don't. I mean, for example, indoor, let's just go club or maybe even college. Sometimes, someone just goes middle of the court as hard as they can. What happens is it usually goes long. They beg the ref for a touch. They don't get a touch, right? That's an example of someone reverting to something instinctively that they're comfortable with, not necessarily that they're taught, because you're trying to teach them different. Maybe the hatch is the spot to go, right? At least you got coverage or this or that, or maybe tight sets, maybe the wipe is the place to go. But I think it's incumbent of us coaches to let them know, hey, next play, or let negative talk creep up in their head. That was terrible, this or that, and I mean, there's tough love too, but there's also a time for that. For me, my tough love as a coach happens in practice. The worst thing I tell my players, and I did a training group yesterday for Beach, south of the pier. Rob McLean and someone, Brian McDermott. I forgot this kid's name. Brian McDermott sent over from I think he's from Illinois. If he doesn't, I'll tell you his name later. The worst thing that should happen to you should happen in practice. The most difficult time you should have in volleyball, the most miserable time should happen in practice. This way, when it happens in a game, it doesn't feel like an abnormal feeling. It doesn't feel like that you have to do something more than what you usually do. As Bill Belichick says, do your job, right? It doesn't have to be something where you have to revert back to a technique that we hope to God that they've exercised and that we believe as coaches work, and then sometimes they just need to do that enough times on the court for them to look at you like, that worked. That worked, and you're just like you're like, should I say I told you, or should I just do this?
Yeah. I just point at them and I go, that was you. That was you that did that. Yeah.
Dude, that's John Mayer. I mean, that's John Mayer. That's Coach John Mayer too. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, two kind of thoughts come into my head, and they're both related, but this idea of people say play with confidence, but I always think you don't have confidence unless you've seen yourself do it before, and you've seen yourself do it correctly, or you've seen yourself be successful doing it. So that actually is conviction. So conviction means with victory, like with a win, basically. Right. It's the old Latin. So if you've seen yourself be successful in that thing, or you've seen yourself go with victory while hitting a high ball out of system, or swiping off the block, or keeping the ball quick as a setter, even from the 15-foot line, and just whipping it back quick because your right side's there. Yeah. If you've seen yourself do it with a victory, then you will have conviction that you can do it again. Or it's 24-24 and you got to rip a big serve. You have conviction you can do it. Confidence is waning. Confidence is like happiness. You don't have control over happiness. You don't have control over confidence. You do have control with trust. You do have control with joy. You do have control with conviction. And I think those things really allow that performance to get up there. And where I kind of formed this idea was in musical theater. So I used to do a lot of singing, and, I was like, I was in Godspell when I was in college, and I did 3 musicals when I was in college, and it was a blast. It was a great way to get my mind off training and just like go out there and meet new people and just be a goofball up on stage.
You got to appreciate how rare that is, but go ahead.
It's so rare
to be a full-time, like a college player and study. It's almost, you have to give up sleep. My BFA is in acting. I went to Marymount Manhattan College. I went to Hunter for one semester for like a cup of coffee to play with the crazy Haitians and Dominicans. And then I'm like, forget this school shit, you know. And then 10 years later, I came back and I auditioned. And at the time, Marymount Manhattan was ranked number 2 in the country. And my degree is theater performance, but my BFA is in acting. But the difference between you and me is, I made sure I went to a school that didn't have a team. I need to actually go to class. You were flowing and I just fucking interrupted you and I'm so sorry.
No.
How did you do it?
I still got it. I still got it.
How did you do it?
Well, so going to Belmont Abbey and being D2, they really put an equal stress on your student athlete experience as well as your collegiate, student experience. And so that really helps. But I think, I made it a priority, and I only did one a year, and I did it in the fall. And normally it was right as school year started. So it was kind of before our playing season. So we'd have our performances like early October. So I was able to do it. And while everybody else is out, maybe partying 3 or 4 nights a week, I was in the theater from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock, 4 nights a week.
Which is a party. And,
yeah, it's a grind. It's a lot. Homework kind of took a back seat a little bit to, lifting weights and acting, but it was an outlet that was awesome. And it hit this part of my person, and it pushed me in a different area. It made me be a better public speaker. And one of the things the theater director said, and he's a legend, Simon Donahue, he's been working with the Abbey players forever. And something he said to us before one show, there was a lot of nerves, and for some reason we had to skip a few practices. I think like the flu went around or something. And what Simon said to us is, he's like, I will not allow you to go on stage if you're going to embarrass yourself. If you truly don't know your lines, and if I see you stumbling and mumbling and bumbling, as Chris Berman says, through this performance, I'm not going to allow you up on the stage. We'll cancel our first show. I can do that. But you better believe, if I allow you to go on that stage, you are ready. So don't even think for a second that you're going to walk onto that stage in the makeup, in the costumes, in whatever, and you're not ready, because I run this theater. And if you're not ready, I won't allow you to embarrass yourself, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that pushes start and pushes stop. And if you're out there, you're ready. And it was such a freeing thing. And that's kind of how I treat my players. It's like, I'm not going to sub you in the game. I'm not going to put you out there for Belmont Abbey men's volleyball if you're not ready.
No.
Why would I do that to you? You're 19 years old. If you don't know the position, if you don't know how to play, I can't put you out there in that role. It's just not fair. And so then I think in turn that mentally goes, okay, well, I am out here. I am on the court. Then there is that trust there. And I think that gives that conviction as well. Okay, at least for one person, at least for my coach, or at least for my director, I've shown that I can successfully perform, whether it's a song or whether it's a topspin serve, like either way.
My man.
And I kind of take that in.
Yeah, so for my fact checkers, I was actually in the BFA program, and then year 3, I switched out to BA with concentration in theater performance, because the BFA program, they don't allow you to do professional work inside the academic year. So it's very, very common for Marymount students and because they're both ranked together in the national system, BA in performance and BFA in acting, a lot of actors switch out. A lot of people start BFA because it's easier to switch out of the BFA than it is to switch in. It's impossible to switch into the BFA. So, the difference is, since we're talking about theater and all that stuff, the BFA is 2 years contemporary, 3rd year is Ibsen, Chekhov, Comedy of Manner, stuff like that. And the entire senior year is Shakespeare. So, the BA is 2 years contemporary, and your 3rd and 4th year, you get to choose to do what you want. If it's acting for the camera, if it's movement for general ensemble, that kind of like chakra work, or that kind of, avant-garde type stuff as well. There's just more liberty to do what you want to do. Also, every person that was double majoring or minoring in musical theater, you really couldn't do the BFA and that at the same time. So they were kind of ranked the same. So for my people in Marymount, it's like, he didn't have a BFA. I was 3 years in, but I graduated with a degree in theater performance. I took some time off to do a play called Fucking A, written by Susan Laurie Parks. Susan Laurie Parks won Pulitzer for her best drama, and that was at the Public Theater. But It's listen. Our degree in our major in theater performance and our major in musical theater qualifies us to do a lot of things, man. You know, like I go to New Orleans, they're like, "What qualifications do you have to do color commentary?" And I'm like, "My degree in acting."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and I'm like, by the way, for the people that don't like cursing, turn this part out. By the way, fuck you, okay? Because when Tri-Born was up there at Manhattan Beach saying "ball served," out. Nobody asked him about his qualifications, right? And I'm teasing Tri because Tri's analytical. His analytical is off the page. And I always tease him because I'm like, if you had a setup guy, like even like Dave Shaw, right? You know Dave Shaw, the Pottstown Rumble?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know about setup guy or color commentary or play-by-play, but MCs, he's the best MC I've ever met in my life. That dude's insane. And you know who I'm talking about because you were in the finals. He was calling it.
Oh, yeah.
He was calling it on the mic and putting the headset on and doing play.
I know. That's tough. It's tough to command an audience like that. Like to be able to call out what you see and play the part and play that role.
Yeah, man.
You need to practice it. And you also have to have that certain gene or that certain element of, I don't know, charism that people all kind of get you. Like what you say, 95% of the people listening are like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. And I think some people are so heady or it's so far in, delve so deep into something that everyone's like, I lost interest. I don't know. And I have that problem sometimes for sure.
Yeah. So but isn't that one of the biggest obstacles for musical theater and theater performance too, right? Like going up there trying to be good instead of just being good, right? Can you appreciate how that translates to volleyball? Like coaching these kids mentally and psychological preparation. Hugh McCutcheon once said during that gold medal run, don't try to be good, just be good. One of the best things I've heard him say, and everybody's just like, some people are like, huh? Like out of anything you could say to your team, that's what you said, and I'm like, yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's not called faking. No. It's called acting.
Yeah.
It's not called anything else other than acting.
Yes.
In some ways, you got to act confident, but you have to do it with conviction.
Yes.
I've done this before. I've said this before. I've controlled a room before. I've said things that have helped people win. I'm not faking it when I say you have the ability to be the best outside hitter in the conference.
Hell no, it's not fake. Hell no, it's not fake.
And you're not there yet, but you're 6'5". You can jump out of the gym. Your decision making is a little bit poor. I'm not faking. I'm acting confident because you need to know that I have that much conviction in it. And to be able to say it in a way and look somebody in the eye. And same thing goes in like beach or grass with your partner. Like, hey, right now, you take that line, I will be in the pocket. And I could say it like that, or I could say, hey dude, just like block line and I'll just kind of I'll be in the pocket, whatever. Like you have to know your partner. You have to know how they like to intake the info. But there's a couple different ways you can say it and say the same thing, and you're not faking, but you're acting appropriate to the situation to get the positive result, to get that performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, listening to this episode, the operative word here is called acting. Acting is real human behavior in imaginary circumstances. Okay, that's in the classic sense of the word if I had to do a classic definition. So how acting applies to the stage, how it applies to the musical that you did in college, and how it applies to performing in other ways. If you understand that we as human beings have to wear different hats to do our different jobs, then it's easier for you to understand. If you're the kind of person that wears the same hat no matter who you are, the way you talk to your kids, the way you go to work or whatever, I think my wife has a little bit of that. I mean, she's the exact same person with everybody. I guess it's my way of saying, let's not fucking play ourselves. It's not fake to talk to your boss a certain way that it is that you wouldn't talk to your wife or your kid or your best friends. Maybe me and you go out one night, maybe in Atlantic City or New York, go sing karaoke. Maybe we're different human beings that night.
Let's do that for sure.
I'm going early. That. The tournament, the qualifier is the 23rd, but I'm flying in the JFK the 19th. I'm going to Central Park first. I'm bringing my homie. Her name is Wendy Jones of the Optimist Journal. She's got one of the most killer blogs and podcasts ever. She's a power mom too. Her son's an outside hitter at Stanford, Lucas Turner, and her daughter's on the beach team for Hector at TCU. So she's one of those power moms just spouting them out. So I'm taking her from JFK to Central Park, just a couple hours. We check in Tropicana, and then Tuesday we go back to New York. And in the afternoon, hit up the parks again, go to an Italian restaurant, and I'm probably going to sing karaoke at a place called Overlook. Or Keats. It's a pub. I'm a pubs over clubs guy, so you should come too if you're around. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Shoot me a text about that because
yes, sir.
I can get those pipes going and help me to play a little bit more free.
Dude, I bet we don't even have a go-to song. People ask you what your go-to song is. Like, nah. I got just say I got a million of them things, right? So let's since I keep jumping away from this like Kanye West and trying to bring it back, let's talk about the Pottstown Rumble playing with Marc Fornaciari, right? Now, from the volleyball side, and I'm going to give you the floor, I talked to Mark Burek a bunch of times about this because Mark is from New York. And Andrew Dentler, he and I coached at Endless Summer together when he lived here, which was one of the more, at that time, one of the more premier elite volleyball juniors clubs for beach. So, and they both really talked about the importance of serve at the Pottstown Rumble. Like, grass systems, you really can't help it. The net's going to be set up a little bit low, right? And it's going to smile in the middle as the tournament goes along. So he says you don't need a heightened level of percentage proficiency to operate siding out. You jump high enough to beat the one-man block. You're hitting straight front. You're hitting straight down in front of the defense, and it only requires like a certain amount of effort to do that. He puts all of his focus and measure into trying to get teams out of system when you're our eye test as fans and as coaches and as players, but more over as fans. I'm speaking as a fan now. It makes sense, right? It's like as soon as the team's out of system, you feel like the other team twitches into this kind of more competitive mode. Shit, this is a chance for a point, So, I talked to Mark about that. He said the same thing. I talked to Dentler, he said the same thing. Beloff said something completely different. Beloff was talking from the neck up, and then he was talking about pass and then serve. Because Beloff don't care about serve because he aces everybody anyway. I'm like, he told me if he thinks about serve, if someone tells me where to serve, he gets mad at them because that's a requiem for him to miss, and he doesn't want to miss. So the floor is yours. Let's go to levels of importance for the formula for making the finals of a tournament is something as highly competitive and as highly octane as the Pottstown Rumble.
Yeah, sheesh. So I'll start at the bottom. I think blocking is probably the least important. The court is so big that you can just hit around it no matter what, or you can hit over it. And the high line shot it's not 25 feet away, it's 28 feet away. And that extra, step that you need to take to get the high line ball, it's going to be on the ground. So I would say blocking is probably the least important. I'd say second least important is probably digging or defense. Because again, unless they hit the ball right at you, you're not going to be making that many moves to the ball. I would say good serve receive is important, but not the utmost important. I would say I would crest that one in right there, kind of at number, 4. Then I would say attacking is probably number 3. You don't need to be an elite, attacker to score points there. You just can't get blocked, and you have to be proficient, like your normal proficient. I would say setting is huge because with that one touch, you can trap somebody. You can put them into terrible situations, or you can pull away. If the other team, somebody like Beloff, is just absolutely torching serves, and you got to make a move over to the side and go with one hand, get the ball up. If you can recover that with a good set, no harm, no foul. Then I would say absolutely number 1 most important is a serve that is got some pace, it's unpredictable. It can go down both lines in the middle. It can go short and deep, and it can just cause head case for the other team. And I think it's not just one person's serve, but it's the combo serve that you're attacking with. Okay, if you have 2 types of servers and they serve identical and they're coming from the same spot, you see the same ball over and over and over again, you're going to get in a good mode. Mm-hmm. But if you can have a lefty and a righty, if you can have kind of a spinster and a power ball, if you can have a nasty float with the topspin, some kind of thing that keeps the defense or keeps the serve receive on their heels, that is a recipe for success. If I can get the offense on their heels, I will win the Pottstown Rumble. And that's just the case. Like, it's just going to happen. And I think, as the match progressed, it went from Belov and Lucas being on their heels to us being back on our heels as they got warmed up, started making really, really good serves deep in the game. Because, again, we were up 13-11. And then there was that shift. Ball slipped through my hands on that set
good Lord.
11-13.
I'm so sorry, dude.
Yeah, it was super unfortunate. And, my hands have been trusty all day. It was raining the day before. I set wet volleyballs all the time. And, it was just something that happens. And it ended up putting us a little bit more on our heels than they were. And I think that was the big deal. So I guess imposing your will on the other team and through the serve, that's the easiest way to do it there.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Look, it's the reason why you go to the quarterfinals every year, and like the remaining 8 teams, 5 of them are repeat offenders, right? They know it. They figured out they cracked the code. They have this formula that works. The list that I love. I'm going to play this back because I want to write it down, because I might do a 1-minute video. How to win the Pottstown Rumble. Number 5, ting. Right. Number 4, ting. The number 2 is very in system setting. Well, I'll start with in-system setting, right? If someone gives you a good pass, the other team can't make you set poorly. You're a professional. Do your freaking job. Out-of-system setting, bringing back sets, turning lemons into lemonade connection between you as a setter and them as the hitter. That's also instrumental, because that's important to energy efficiency. If you feel like you have to keep doing this every other play, then now you're wasting a lot of energy that you might need to play the next opponent. And it's crazy because I'm looking at your playoff run, right? And Friend and Meerwitter were like the bigger seed, I think, coming out of your pool leading impromptu the finals. Frazier, it's not an easy player to beat, but it really depends on who his partner is. I thought him and Cam Beans played really well in New Orleans. Cam Beans kept. I'm not going to repeat what he's saying. No, I can't say that. I won't say that off camera. Look, I cursed a little bit, but man, some things that get me flagged. He was repeating something to like psych himself up, and just Chris Frazier and me were just like, whatever it takes, Cam. That's my dude, man. I love me some Cam Beans because of that, because he's original, and you could imagine what he's saying to psych himself up. So I'll leave it up to you to speculate.
Oh yeah.
So. Drucker Maxwell, that was a close one. 18-16, right? Actually, what the hell am I doing? Let me just put it up.
They were dangerous. So they were dangerous to everybody. So I coached Liam Maxwell for 4 years. Right. And I played against Drucker and coached against him. And those two both have cannons. They both have all, in that rank priority of good serve, good setting, all the way down. They're good at all that.
I think Dude, I think knowing him helped you, right? This guy who's like a relative unknown to guys like me or whatever. You walk into this round and he takes your lunch money.
Oh yeah, and they were going to be a landmine team. So if they took us out, I think they would have made a very similar run, right? All the way through. Just because Drucker's serve it's ungettable if he hits it how he can hit it, and then Liam can side out from anywhere, and he's got all the skills. So. Yeah, they're going to be fun to watch in the coming years. So, yeah.
So you had them, and of course Caldwell. Actually, this is the year of Caldwell. I think he's one of the more improved players. He's always kind of been there, but he's on my list for like most improved male players. I put him up there with Rafi Polis, who I think is playing lights out volleyball right now. And then Friend and Travis and Kyle Friend.
Well, that was Friend and Joyner.
Yeah, that's right. Duh, my bad. Yeah.
Oh, it's all good.
I know we ain't trying to out some people for not getting the list of names right. Sometimes it just helps to have someone in the booth that kind of knows. For me, for New Orleans, I kept calling Larissa's partner Talita, and it wasn't Talita. It was her wife. It was Lillian, and I couldn't help it. I just kept doing that, you know, but it's not. It was just how my brain was wired to call someone that I already knew to be otherwise different, you know. But Caldwell's weird like that with partners. He did that in New Orleans. He's supposed to play with Andy Benesh, right? Commentary team comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, Jason, hey, come here for a second. Tell me which one of those 4 guys is Andy Benesh," and I just go, "He's not here." And they're like, "No, that guy playing with Cody, that's Andy Benesh," right? And I just kind of go, "That's not him." You know?
Yeah, that guy's not 6'9".
It was Casey Lochek. Hell no, he's not. And then, of course, let's go on the screen for our people who have the benefit of the video version. That's how that ended, 13-15. You guys are up 13-11, and then that's just tough. My boy Rob McLean played with Aurora, played Boag and Jacobs Hermosa Beach Finals, and was up 13-11 Game 3, and that was, I think that was the get in. I mean, if it isn't, it should have been, because at that level, right? Those 4 guys is like skill wise, that is a playing game. So cool. Yeah. So talk about please.
Well, I was gonna say, like, being up 13-11, that I had an opportunity for a high line ball. I got a dig and then got a great set. I mean, Marc wanted to win, and he's one of the better fighters and competitors that plays. I mean, being 38 years old and still grinding it out for 2 days and just balling out, like
savage.
And he doesn't have the height necessarily to just kind of skate by as a blocker or whatever. I mean, he's got to be mobile, and he's got to be moving around all the time. But we have such a good chemistry, and he was kind of the first person I started playing with a lot once I left indoor, kind of moved to outdoor. But yeah, I missed that high line swing to go up 14-11, and that's the difference.
That's a different switch, huh? That's a different switch.
It's a different switch. Super different. And you know, it was super upsetting. Absolutely super upsetting. But there's also this piece that lets me know, man, just 2 more feet to the left or 1 more foot. I mean, it was barely out. And we're potentially Pottstown Rumble champ. And it's like, if I just dedicate a little bit more time to playing, and I dedicate another morning to getting touches, and dedicate a little bit more into the weight room and change the diet a little bit, which is what I've started to do after kind of seeing some of that success I can have. It's like those balls land in bounds and it's a different story.
Hell yeah.
And then it's different on the beach. And so, yes, frustrating, absolutely. But those are things, you know, the ball through the hand that I miss out of bounds. Those changes will happen when I play a little bit more. Right. And that's kind of the way where I'm going with it too, is I'm going to start playing a lot more and kind of get ramped up so that I can drop 10 pounds, be the best athlete I can be. And that's what's exciting about it.
Oh, man. Sorry, I'm losing the signal. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
No, that was it. Marc Fornaciari. I owe this guy a drink. All right. He's at a beach tournament right now, and I come in and I watch a live stream, and I think before I started watching it, there were just hands. There are hands that they called on his team, and their hands they just kind of let go. And then somewhere in the game where it was a very important score, he kind of lost his shit, right? And I'm watching this, and I'm like, this guy's drunk. This guy's obviously been drinking. He's drunk. He ain't got no fucking control of this or that. And he took that really, really personally. And Steven Roshitz is like, no, dude, he was drunk, you know, because Steven Roshitz is like he's like a shit stirrer, right? He's an instigator like that. And I just told Marc, I said, give me your number. And so he gives me his number, and I call him and I say, hey, I apologize. You will, from what you may get to know about me, I criticize volleyball players with volleyball. And I do have this attitude, if it's too much for you, you probably shouldn't listen to the podcast. But when I say things that I think that are funny, that are outside of the range of volleyball, that involves 2 different pecking orders, like Marc didn't know me, I didn't know him. We know of each other, but I was a little out of bounds, and I said, you know what, dude, I'm sorry. I apologize. And it's just crazy. We have this conversation, and he's 38, and and the question is, why the fuck haven't we met earlier? Look, I'm a pure indoor player. I only started doing this beach thing like a little over 6 years ago as a coach. But as a player, the players would use me to cross train because I'm a good indoor blocker. You know, you're 6'1", and you got to block these big dudes. But my wingspan 6'8", so
wow.
big old hug. But I drop a name like Seydou Ajanako. I know Seydou. Cool. Mike Salick, you know, East Coast player or whatever. I know Mike. Greg Hunter, you know. All of a sudden, like all of these mutual friends, I'm just like, dude, we're not. So when I go east, you know, and I know he's going to be there. There's no way in hell this man's going to miss Atlantic City as a player or just to show up. I owe him a drink. So I bring him up only from my perspective because I want to give you the floor on what playing with him meant to you and taking that journey. That long side out scoring, big court grass tournament. The floor is yours, my man. Marc Fornaciari.
All right, so Marc Fornaciari. So he is an old baseball player, and I mean, he is just your classic. I mean, he's from Chicago. I'm from Chicago as well originally, and people that know Marc know that when he plays, he does not talk. He plays. And so on the trip up there, we're talking the whole time. I mean, there's not a quiet moment. He's telling story after story, and it's just fun to listen to. When we get on the court, we didn't waste any energy talking. We already knew what was up. If the ball's to me, it's my ball. If the ball's to him, it's his ball. Like, we already know, okay, teams, all that stuff. So many teams are like trying to pump each other up and get each other hype and psyched up. And it's like, Marc and I both went with this idea of let's win the tournament. Like, okay, let's do that. And so it's kind of funny. We'd go whole sets almost, or like point after point. And, you know, there'd be some times I'd serve 3 aces in a row, and he just grabs the ball and just like tosses it back to me. Like, other teams are like, "You're the best, man." You know, like they're all pumping each other up, beating their chests. Marc's just like, just kind of like this, you know. And so then when he does end up turning it on and does end up giving that hype at some point, it means a little bit more. But I would say I never have to guess if he wants to win or not, and I never struggle with that. There's some points that I play with him during a tournament that I go, if you could just say something, like something inside of me is like, could you just say something? But then I realized that that's kind of like my weakness, you know. That's kind of me needing his support, and I go, well, can I just give that to myself? Or what am I lacking? Am I lacking confidence? Yeah, I am. Okay, why am I even looking for confidence? Let me go back to conviction. I'm a really good volleyball player. I don't need somebody else to tell me something to like unlock me. This is a doubles game. We don't have a coach. I'm just gonna go out here and side out.
Yeah,
that's it.
Ain't nobody gonna bench you.
And yeah, I know. So it's a very quiet game with him. But he's so consistent. I mean, he's one of the best platform setters out there. He knows where my window is, which is pretty big. I know how to set him with his left arm. I mean, yeah, he just puts the ball away easily. He's a really good passer, underrated passer, very underrated. I think a lot of people miss that on him. And then he's just done it forever. Like, he's just played so many matches in his life that he just knows how to win. He knows how to run a tournament. He knows how to when to sit, when to go get food, all that kind of stuff. And as a relatively new player, I just kind of listen to his cues, and he's a great tournament manager.
When you become 38, and if you desire, or if you are maintaining this consistent heightened level of play, right? You're playing these opens, albeit whether it's regional or whether it's a next or whether it's the tour. And you're playing at this consistent heightened level where people have to ask your age to know how old you are, right? I mean, because he plays like his movements are like a young dude because he doesn't waste any moves, right? I guess the point of path I'm going here is energy efficiency. So one of the keys to energy efficiency is to know that big waves crash. So you want to be emotionally high, but not too high, because my saying is, if you get 5 points on the high, you're probably going to give up 9 on the low because your wave's too big, and the bigger the wave is, the harder it crashes. So maybe a guy like you, great play, let's go, and then reel it back in, catch the fish. So that age, energy efficiency is connected to. Not big waves, not crashing. 2, 1, Two, not having to make a lot of moves on the ball. John and I call it 1 move, 2 moves. I was John's assistant at LMU for the women's beach team.
Okay.
1 move to the ball. You ever seen John Mayer play? I've never seen. It's almost like Billy Allen, or like, think of a volleyball player that used the least amount of energy for the same result, for a maximum result. It's like he doesn't even look tired. He just got that in 1 move. He read it. And his first step was big. He didn't have to run for it. He kind of walked it. So that's what I get from Fornaciari, and I think that's the secret to his success. Not a lot of wasted moves. Don't be too emotionally high. Don't be emotionally too low. And everything that allows him to do the same thing at the end of the tournament, in the beginning, is the secret to his success. And just watching a very small sample size. I've only watched him play 5 tournaments, but the Pottstown Rumble was great. It was great watching you guys do that. That was great, And I follow that because Andre Beloff, I know from Central Park. I'm a New Yorker, right? And his wife is a savage coach. You want to talk about a girl in the CUNY system doing more with less? The ability to do more with less. That woman is coach of the decade for what the cards that she's dealt and the way she can maximize some of her recruits, and understand that in the CUNY system, student comes before student athlete. It's Division III. I felt like I was insulting the other CUNY coaches, that I don't want to waste my time having a conversation with people that want to talk about coaching, but they're not talking about coaching. They're in the CUNY system is Kevin Edwards, who played for the Trinidadian national team. He's at Baruch College. And it's her. Andre attributes her to that victory.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I listened to it.
Calm. She's calm. She's I guess she's calm watching it. I mean, as a Serbian player, there's that emotional thing where you're probably losing your mind on the inside, but you can't. You don't want your players to see that, and you should know. I think as a coach, sometimes, as if your players see some kind of body language, it has to be, like you said, it has to be theater performance. It's like a lot of times when I'm emotional. This is me. The refs knew I was coming a decade ago. Like, oh God, Jason. But a lot of it, they have to know that it wasn't personal. It was performed. It was theater performance, I got a yellow card, draw a joker, put it in your back pocket. That's misconduct. What you gave me a card for was not misconduct, So those kind of things. I'm like, give me a red. Go ahead. Let's see what happens. So I was that kind of coach. I've evolved. And I've kind of, there's a different side of the volleyball when you're a coach or when you're performing as a player. And I could feel those areas of mental strength that have grown in me, being able to be in tight situations out, and still getting a tough serve. And then I could also feel the areas in which I felt whiny. Like I felt like I just wanted I wanted something else to happen, like somebody else to do the thing instead of me. And I think that is something that I'm going to work on too. Like if it's my serve, it's just me back there. I just toss, I just take the swing, and I can trust my block. I can trust the defense, whatever. But to hope, it's a terrible mindset to be in, to hope for something to happen. 4-letter word.
Yeah, it's the worst 4-letter word. And the hoping that was going on when Belov is back there about to rip his 4th ace in a row. I felt that in that moment. And I remember checking myself and going, that I'm not in the right mindset. Like I just, the shaky, the ball through the hands, the high line shot, it's like, man. And then playing for 2 days in a row, being just absolutely gassed, then you get weaker up here. And so I kind of realized too, that mental strength part, again, a really good thing to learn at this point in my career is just that mental strength. And I kind of have it now in coaching, where I can kind of put some of those emotions aside until after the match, for sure. And I do that a lot. But then when you are really worn down and tired, like let's say we make it out of the qualifier up in AC and we get up into the final rounds and we're playing 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. It's like, how am I going to be able to perform and not let that like tired little voice control my big self, my big serve, my big block, all that kind of stuff.
Coaching's always going to make you a better player, man. Sorry to interrupt.
Well,
Coaching's always going to make you a better player, but playing's not going to make you a better coach. That's the evil trade-off of being like a full-time actor player and also a full-time coach, you know.
Yeah.
I was interested in having you on the podcast because I wanted to see if I was talking to a person who can break the molds of my some of my old school unflinching, unchanging philosophies. I'll give you an example, and God, I don't know where you got to go after this, and I hope I'm not making you late.
Oh, I'm good, man.
I told John Mayer. John Mayer's been a repeat offender on my podcast, right? Right now, John Mayer's the head coach at LMU, their beach team. I was his assistant. Yep. He, got that team from a losing record to WCC champs to NCAA, like beating LSU and UCLA the same day. I personally thought he deserved Coach of the Year. They gave it to Andrew Fuller. Andrew Fuller probably hates me for keep mentioning this, but come on, don't hate the player, don't hate the game, right? They gave you the award. I'm not mad at the prom queen. I'm mad at the voters, okay, that voted her prom queen. But I told John, if you want to win a conference or if you want to win an NCAA title, you got to quit. You have to quit. You have to retire as an active player. You have to. You can't be a full-time active player and be an NCAA championship coach. And he's like, interesting. And I'm like, it is. I was gonna say no, it isn't interesting. It's factual, but no, he's right. It's factual, but at the same time, not mutually exclusive. It's also interesting that you in your lifetime will never meet someone who is a championship coach at a near mainstream sport that's also an active full-time player. That animal just doesn't exist. Not since Bill Russell, okay, from the Celtics, who was the coach of the Celtics and also playing on the team. When we talk about these GOATs, we should never forget about that guy between guys, whatever. But it's crazy. Like a couple of months later, he retired, not because of me, but he was eventually going to retire. And then 4 months later, he wins the WCCs. He beats Pepperdine out of the losers bracket. So that means he had to come all the way back and then beat him twice, which I really wish I was part of the team for that. I left the team before that season to do color commentary for Pepperdine's home games and like the Big West Championship. And John got me in the picture. He's like, hey, you are part of this, take a picture with me because he's cool like that. And that's something where I really don't want you to think about, because you're way too young for me to be coming at you with this nonsense. But I would love to see if you will come back to me one season when your season's over and be like, hey, we won the Carolinas, or maybe like an NCAA, like a Final Four or like a finals, to be like, hey, or maybe even a championship, because you're on that champ shit anyway. So maybe I'm not thinking as high as you are. You're about that champ shit. So I would love one day for you to come back on the podcast and be like, hey, you might want to rethink that. You might want to rethink that. You have a big mountain. You have a lot of pressure that you might be aware of, or you might just be so much into your work, you're a prisoner of the moment, and you don't feel the weight, and I'm not trying to bring extra unnecessary weight. No. But
No, these are discussions that I've actually had quite a bit recently. So maybe this is a discussion we have once we close out the podcast. This is something that I've been kind of chatting about a little bit, and I don't really want to give too big of a teaser away or anything, but it's definitely something I've chatted about, and it's definitely something that I've been discussing. And you're totally right. There's no space for a full-on recruiting schedule, the full-on administrative duties, the responsibilities that, when you have 18 to 22-year-old guys on campus, and, mom's 600 miles away, 1,000 miles away in a different continent, and you're the guy that's responsible for them. It's very difficult to say no to that and then just go train, or to go lift weights, or to spend an extra 30 minutes at home cooking chicken and broccoli and rice, as opposed to just going to your local, joint and picking it up on the way home and getting that sodium. So those kind of sacrifices you end up making, and who that wants to be a champion would not spend an extra 45 minutes in the office at night answering 2 more emails to prospective athletes, or watching another set of film before coming home. Who wouldn't do that? And if you're doing that for your coaching job, you are not doing that for your athletic playing career. So I absolutely agree with that. I just do. And yeah, so that's, I mean, we can talk about that a little bit after maybe we push stop.
Yeah, 100%. And at some point you got to come back and we got to have this. It's going to be such a fun conversation because you are a coach that's way mature beyond your years. I always crab about guys who are like former players who kind of just jump into coaching at the head coaching position. But if Kevin Knight said some nice things about you and about your intelligence or whatever, that says a lot because we know Kevin Knight, his some of these high IQ conversations, I hold on by a thread. I'm just, at the end of the day, dude, I'm a fucking moron. All right, I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm an above average city kid. All right, that levels up when it comes to his friends and when it comes to his wife. My wife went to Harvard, so I surround myself with smart people and kind of fake it until I make it.
Like that is a certain type of intelligence right there.
Get 2 educations. I always say,
yeah, Kevin can go deep into the realm of material things.
Yeah.
And I like to go deep into the realm of metaphysical things and like ideas and topics. And so somewhere we meet in the middle and we can just talk for hours. And so
where are you?
Go ahead.
Are you going to, who are you playing with in Atlantic City?
I'm going up with John Sutton.
Oh, Sutton.
So he's my buddy from Charlotte here. We've been chatting about playing in a tournament together for a few years now. And this one worked out really well. So, so I'll be going up there with him.
If anyone of your friends is looking for a hybrid, I have a guy that Rob McLean, I've been training. He's been a full-time defender behind Robert De Aurora or whatever and this and that, and he's done some training with Alisson from Brazil or whatever. But he's a hybrid, meaning he can block, he could split, he could full-time block, or he defend. He's 6'3". His reach is maybe a little over 11 feet on the sand. He doesn't make mistakes. He's a little bit of a man-child when it comes to technique or whatever, but it's like every time there's a tournament, and at the end, I look at some of these local tournaments, these CBVAs, it's always him in the semis or the finals winning or losing. So it's like Evan Corey. You ever watch Evan Corey's live streams? It's like, God damn it, every time there's a semis or a finals, there he is, Yeah, that's a kid I like, and we could have a whole another conversation about him. Who also came on the podcast. Yeah, I met him at a play-in game, Hermosa Beach. I was coaching Earl Schultz and Jake Arudia, and we played Evan Corey and Kevin Vallela to get in, and we won 2-0, but Evan was terrifying, and Kevin Vallela had staff, so we knew we could get him. He had so many injuries coming in, so. But hey, listen, people want to know more about Mr. Nolan Albrecht, man. What's your college site or what's your Instagram handle?
So I would say for college site, check out Abbey MVB on Instagram or abbeyathletics.com. And then for kind of checking me out, following me, I have an Instagram where I'm starting to put out some videos. I'm actually going to be putting out a 5 steps to improve your serving to win. I'm going to be putting out that video soon. And that's just at Nolan Albrecht, just my first and last name. Might be Nolan Albrecht 7. I don't know. Just search my first and last name. I kind of show up. You'll see me like serving a ball on my Instagram account. So that'd be the place to go find me. And yeah, follow along. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Jason, I'm looking forward to seeing you out a bunch of these tournaments. I'm going to be traveling a lot more to play a lot. And I'm just super stoked for the future.
Yeah, I got 2 major ones. I'm doing color commentary and play-by-play for Atlantic City. I got great feedback from New Orleans, so they invited me to do a bunch of games.
That was fun. You did a great job. I was wondering. I knew I'd met you because Kevin introduced me, but I didn't know that was actually you up there in the booth.
Yeah, it was. I was like, pretty cool.
Dang,
I just want someone actually who knows how to call a match and stop making all these corny jokes. I mean, damn, I sound like I'm talking about somebody doing that. Ooh, but. Were you an outside hitter before we go? I was going to wrap up because I know I'm looking at your numbers. You led the nation in kills, hitting Hitting, was it hitting per, kills 523 kills per set. Okay, my bad. I thought that was hitting percentage.
Yeah.
350 was your hitting percentage. Okay.
My hitting percentage was 350.
Okay. Because even that's pretty high for an OH. Were you an OH? That's pretty.
Yeah,
I
think I was in like the top 15 in the nation that year. Yeah. With hitting percentage, and I got over 1,000 sets. So
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Those are almost middle hitter worthy numbers.
yeah. That's probably the number in college that I'm the most proud of, was my hitting percentage my senior year, because I was by far the main target. I mean, I had tons of attempts, so that's probably the number. And Derek Sullivan, who's my assistant coach now, he was my setter, and so we got that connection. But yeah, I was a libero until I was 17. Then I grew like 6 inches.
And you're like, to hell with
and
this
then they moved me to
stuff.
The pin. Yeah, let me hit a ball, man.
You will always have my respect, because there's something to be said about a player where the other team knows who they're going to set, and they set you anyway, and you still come up with these numbers. So mad respect. Trust me. I know. The 1 year I played at Hunter, I don't want to talk about my overseas, but at Hunter on a smaller scale, a Haitian player, Greg Romulus, they knew we were going to him, and he hit in the 300s too, and he's the record holder. He was 61 for 98, which is an NCAA record, against Roger Williams. 5 errors, 61 for 98, 5 errors. It's just and a match we lost, by the way. It was in Sports Illustrated. It was in Sports Volleyball. Got in Sports Illustrated because of that. It was ridiculous. And I read the article, and I'm like, shit. And they showed a team picture of all of us or whatever, and I'm like, dude, we lost. Why are we in Sport? We're at SI, but anyway, got your site. I look forward to seeing you again, okay? Listen, for everybody listening at home, this guy might love you, but I can't stand you, all right? In fact, we're out of here, all right? So for all of you at home, for all of you on your Starbucks, for all of you on your iPod or iPad or Droid or desktop, like an old school brother like me, for my man Nolan Albrecht, this is episode 97 of the Option Podcast. I'm going to hit my music. Stay with me after this, okay? But for everybody else, we're out. We love you to pieces. Peace out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify, and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.